Hi, everybody. We're going to get right into it today. Um, I thought I would give everyone a break today, including myself, because we have been experiencing and dealing with so much feckless crazy every single day. Every day is insane. So I thought it might be good to take a break while the news cycle is kind of catching its breath right now after the, you know, we see the revolt from chicken shit GOP senators and crazy and pretend crazy GOP House members after we finally see them pushing back against the village idiot Donald Trump and possibly standing up to him. We'll see. You know, I thought the news cycle is kind of like it's entertaining watching the news cycle right now because it's kind of like choking on itself, right? It doesn't know what to do, right? Even media, mainstream media outlets, it doesn't know what to do when Donald Trump is receiving pushback from his own party. I mean, I don't know that any of us know what to do. I don't know if any of us are used to seeing this. We'll see. And again, we'll see how long it lasts. But I decided to complement that break in the news cycle, this hopefully more than a hiccup, but this perhaps new normal that the news cycle may have to get used to. I stress that because it may go nowhere. But if the news cycle has to get used to this new normal of the village idiot Donald Trump getting pushback from Republicans, I'm always hopeful, right? So I decided that since we've had so much crazy, and we never really get a break from the crazy, that it might be fun to engage in crazy or crazy different or just crazy that we don't pay a lot of attention to every day. So in order to do that, there's only really one place to go on the internet where you can be assured that anytime, 24/7, no matter when you go on to this particular website, you can be assured that with minimal effort, oftentimes with none, you will be able to stumble upon a plethora of crazy messages and crazy videos from, crazy people. And that is the website that we so reluctantly refer to as X, that many of us sarcastically continue to refer to as Twitter, just to be obstinate, right? Just to be childish and obstinate. We do continue to refer to it as Twitter, and I will most of the time, probably during this live and recorded session. I got to stop using the term live because we're not live on every platform and some people aren't seeing us live. I'm going to start using the term episode. So on this episode, I think we're going to take 15, 20 minutes and we'll go on to X and we'll see what's happening because you never do it and I do. So, and I've learned that X, X may have some value if I can find enough extremist Republicans that don't like me. I might be able to generate some revenue on X. I know other influencers who do it gleefully. So I thought, why not give it a shot? So I've been spending an awful lot of time for the last several days on the platform on Twitter. And I just thought it would be good to expose you guys to it as well. So before we get going, for those who are here live, let me just bring up the stream. There we go. Oh, wait, that is not the stream. Hang on. Bear with me, my friends. This is never easy for me. I don't know why. I make this into such a project. Come on.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, there we go.
I hope you're all doing well.
All right, Mitch, stop talking. Let me just click this to open it up because I can't see who's here. Oh my God, my My window in here is kind of stuck. I can work around this. There we go. And now let's open it up. Stuck. There we go. Now we're okay. Sorry about that delay there. So without further ado, because your patience has been, your patience will be rewarded now, because we're going to spend a little bit of time on X. If we have time, we'll get to the news. If there's anything breaking, let me know. Hey, Winifred, how are you? So our first story, our first bit of crazy that we're going to talk about today, that is on X today, is Congressman Norman. I think is it Ralph Norman? I feel like it is. I don't know where he's from. But the congressman, although there's a lot of pushback in the U.S. House of Representatives when it comes to the war in Iran, all of the sudden, as of yesterday, and in the Senate, there's a lot of push. There was tremendous pushback when it came to the village idiots, January 6th criminal and white-collar criminal and whoever other criminal that the village idiot wants to pay $1.776 billion slush fund. Well, Asin on X, and Asin is not crazy, he was kind enough to find the Republican. Maybe there's more. There's got to be more. But he was kind enough to find for us the Republican who is in favor of the village idiot Donald Trump slush fund. So as our first thing that I'm going to share with you from X today, let's share Congressman Norman's thoughts on this matter.
People who assaulted police.
Look, January 6th is an issue that was made up in the first place.
People were convicted of assaulting police.
Well, I know
made
that.
up, sir?
That was a staged thing from day one.
What about it was
January
staged?
The riot
6th.
was staged?
When you had police officers letting people in the building, when you had people that's not being prosecuted, Ray, forget his name, there's no excuse for that.
Your colleagues, though, your Republican colleagues ran for their life and barricaded themselves in their chamber. Do you think they were acting?
No, there was a riot there, but it was a self-made riot by members who hate Trump. It was made up, in my opinion.
To those funds?
So Congressman Norman, just in case you thought nobody was left, at least in Congress, who might think that or say it out loud, Congressman Norman. And the thing is, he wasn't like, I didn't get from this clip, as sometimes I do from members of Congress, like that they don't believe what they're saying. Like Congressman Norman believed what he was saying, right? He clearly was confident on that. He is a crazy old man. That's all you can say. I don't think for January 6th, I don't think Israel is not real. It's made up. But Congressman, sir, your colleagues were rushing, hiding, their lives. They felt like their lives were in danger. Do you think they were making it up? No. There's a riot. There's a riot, but that riot is made up. It's made up. It's not real. Wasn't real. They just created the riot. The riot's not made. I mean, that's what I mean. They created the riot. The riot is not made up. It was created by them. Anyway, that's what I think. And I think he really thinks that, Congressman Norman. So that was our first. If you're just joining us today, because I think there's a little bit of a hiccup in the news cycle, because I don't think the mainstream media knows how to process and register the fact that Republicans stood up to the village idiot Donald Trump yesterday. So the news cycle is kind of in this weird like middle place where mainstream media is trying to figure out how to adjust. Is there a new normal? Are Republicans in Congress going to finally stand up to the Trump administration? How do we respond to this? What's the backlash? Are we going to get in trouble with the village idiot Donald Trump? So the news cycle is in this. I can only refer to it as a hiccup right now. And again, I don't know if it's a real thing. I just think it is. I don't know if you've noticed it, if you're paying attention to the news cycle, but it seems like that's the case. So I decided that to take a break from the crazy for as long as we have, then we would just dive right into the crazier. And that's why I thought it might be good for me to go on to X, Twitter, which I prefer to call it, head on to Twitter and, see what's happening in the right-wing cesspool that is that extremist echo chamber. So we started with Congressman Norman. Our next heartwarming, since we're on the topic of January 6th, our next post is, I cannot make this up, guys. Oh my God. Our next post, I can't believe I found this, by the way, because this is just golden. Our next post is by a relationship coach for men, right? This gentleman, this relationship coach, his name is Pat Stedman. And Pat isn't just a relationship coach. I shit you not. Pat, as you can see in his profile right here, is a proud January 6th political prisoner. So he's a fucking... Oh no, I didn't really. Sometimes, I do this, guys, and when you see me doing shit like this, where I'm doing this on my head, and because I can't control myself because I'm gonna start laughing. Because sometimes when I prep this stuff for for an episode, I gotta stop saying alive. I don't realize just how funny it is until I start discussing it with you guys. And we just heard Congressman Norman tell us January 6th was a hoax. I don't believe it was true. And I don't believe it, and it's not true. It was made up, but then it wasn't made up because there was a real riot, but it was a staged riot. Staged. So I wanted to follow that with Pat Stedman, the J6, as he likes to call himself, political prisoner, who is also a relationship coach for men. And I'm going to read to you his plea, because Jay is going to try to get himself some money from the village idiot Donald Trump's slush fund for criminals, if it even happens. So he's a J6 political prisoner, dating and relationship coach. He's helping men who want healthy relationships to attract and keep their dream girl. And he has 300, and he's served so far 350 plus clients. So this is his manifesto that he wrote. Look at this fucking thing. Here he is. This dude. He's going to help you find your dream girl, boys. I cannot believe this shit. He's going to help you find from May 20, this is his picture at the January 6th riot. He was one of them. He was an innocent one, though, apparently. And he's going to, girls, look, if your husband isn't meeting your needs emotionally, you need to get this guy. You need to call this guy. And maybe Father's Day is coming up, right? I'm going to tell my wife, I might actually DM this guy. I can't. I shouldn't, right? I shouldn't do it, right? But Father's Day is coming up, right? And we all try to be good dads, right? Don't we? I don't know who's here, right? I don't see any good dads here. It just might be me and the girls right now. But I'm sure if you're out there watching on Substack or YouTube, we try to be good dads, don't we? Right? We make every effort. But you know what? We spend so much time being real men and good dads, and raising our sons to be men and our daughters to be women, working in the kitchen with babies and raising our sons to be tough, Trump-loving, God-fearing, same thing, Americans, patriots, goddamn it. Right? We spend so much time doing that. Sometimes we neglect our wives. We don't give them the emotional support they need, right? So, if your hubby, your rock, your man has been spending too much time with the kids and too much time with America, you got to call this guy for Father's Day. Just go on to Twitter, on to X, look up Pat Stedman, verified, which means he pays at least $2.99 a month, because that's what verification starts at. Maybe he pays $20 a month. I don't know. And you could get yourself, you could buy your husband a session with Pat, or maybe multiple sessions, so your husband can find himself. Because you know what? It's hard to be an insurrectionist. It's hard to be a racist, right? It's hard to be a bigot, a misogynist. It's hard to be all those things. And to fight for democracy, to get rid of the deep state, and to worship Donald John James Jesus Christ Trump, and to take care of the kids and make them men and make them girls them, and still be there for the needs of your subservient wife. So damn it, people. Girls, Father's Day gift. Anyway, I digress. So he wrote a whole thing on X, Pat, and I'm going to highlight it for you, because when does this ever happen, right? So Pat writes, on January 6th, I followed the crowd into the Capitol and shouted. Police stood by the whole time, hanging out with us and sometimes directing us places. I don't know. I did see a few instances, one or two, during the insurrection, which I watched in real time, which I watched every minute of the coverage of it, which I've told you guys many times the story of how I was online when the insurrection started. I was covering Mitch McConnell's speech on the Senate floor when I started seeing onto my right-hand side on my computer screen, one of my computer screens. Did I have two computer screens? No, it might have been on my phone, because I only had one screen at the time. I started seeing clips, because I had Twitter open, coming in of an insurrection starting. What the fuck? So I watched all of it, right? From beginning to end, and then all of the coverage thereafter. And I did see there were a few instances where it seemed like police officers, a couple, lazy, extremist, bad cops, were helpful to them, to the insurrectionists, to the criminals, to the rioters, to the maniacs. But that wasn't the rest of January 6th. That wasn't the bulk of January 6th. That was a tiny percentage of January 6th. January 6th was fucking murder and mayhem from these animals. But anyway, he, Pat, the January 6th political dating coach, hanging with us and directing us. At one point, near the House chambers, I was walking downstairs when a trio of some special section Secret Service-looking men started pointing guns in my direction. So you had broken into the House chambers. You had committed insurrection, violent insurrection. Now, maybe you, Pat, you are a dating, consultant. So maybe you weren't violent. Find that hard to believe, but maybe not. But everybody the fuck around you was. And you had broken in the building. So you noticed a trio, I assume was three, gentlemen in suits pointing guns at you. Maybe that's because they were fucking trying to protect the people you were trying to kill, you animal. Confused and annoyed, I walked the other way when I saw a normal police officer ask him, why are they doing that? So that happened, of course, right? Of course, that's not a lie, right? The Secret Service men may be holding their guns to try to protect the people in the building. And just a nice real cop came over and was like, fellas, my friend Pat here is a dating coach. And he's such a nice guy. I know he fucking broke in here with a bunch of dangerous people, but he's not. And why would you hold your guns out, fellas? He informed me, a protester, Ashley Babbitt had been killed and advised me to leave the building. So maybe he said get the fuck out. You're an insurrectionist. You're a fucking rioter. Oh, and by the way, one of these maniacs with you tried to breach the Capitol chambers to kill the members of Congress, to hang Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi and any other person that they didn't like. And the security personnel shot her because she was a threat to the people he was sworn to protect. I walked towards the exit, and after a short rest on the bench, I left. I harmed nobody, and I damaged no property that day and complied with all police orders. You were there. You broke in with the animals. You were part of that community. You were guilty by association. You could have walked away. You didn't have to go in the building. You didn't have to break through the building with everybody else. You could have walked away. When you saw all these animals, these oath keepers, these other maniacs, engaged in violent insurrection, beating the shit out of police officers, you could have left. When you walked into the House Rotunda and you saw your colleagues shitting on the floor and wiping on the fucking walls, that my senator, who was a Democratic member of Congress, member of the House at the time, came up and fucking tried to clean with a roll of Bounty and a can of fucking Lysol. When you saw that, you didn't leave yet, though. No, you complied fucking nicely when you were told to get the fuck out because someone had been killed. But you shouldn't have been persecuted. Poor baby. What I received for that was a pre-dawn raid at my parents' house where my 1-month postpartum wife and I were staying. Again, if you just had a fucking baby, first of all, congratulations. You know, nothing wrong with that. That's a miracle for anybody, even a lunatic like yourself. But you just had a baby, your wife is home, you know, at your parents' house, and you had to leave your newborn and your struggling wife to go riot at the fucking Capitol? And you're a fucking dating coach? You know, like, I don't mean to laugh, but... And you're upset because your home was raided? They came after your wife and your baby? No, you sick motherfucker. You set your wife and your baby up because when that happened, you were crazy, and now you want to pay out for it. In subsequent weeks, I received death threats online and harassing phone calls, something that would be ongoing for the next few years. First of all, I highly doubt it. I don't believe you, number one. And number two, if you did, that sucks. No one deserves that at all. And I wouldn't stand for that. I wouldn't support that. You deserve the raid on your house. You don't deserve the death threats. Number three, don't fucking tell us about death threats. Seriously. Talk to Ilhan Omar. Her crime is being an outspoken woman of color who happened to be from Somalia, who happens to be a Democrat. She gets more death threats than anybody probably in the history of the United States of America, and they're all credible. So shut the fuck up. Talk to any influencer, any of us. We get plenty of them by trying to save democracy, not trying to tear it down. So honestly, get a fucking grip. This what I received was that pre-dawn raid at my parents' house where my 1-month-old postpartum wife was saying on Biden's first day in office, his DOJ signed the order to arrest me 3 hours after his inauguration. You committed a crime. That's what happens to criminals. In the subsequent weeks, I received death threats. I was banned from Meta and PayPal, as you fucking should have been. My wife and I were both debanked by PNC and banned from Airbnb, as you should have been, because you were a domestic terrorist on that day. That's what we do to folks that are domestic terrorists on those days. My wife was detained at the airport for hours with our newborn daughter. If that happened, I'm sorry. That shouldn't have happened. Just like it shouldn't happen that I or anybody else right now, and I'm sure you're celebrating, can get our phone taken from us because Donald Trump doesn't like the content we're making at the airport, and we can get detained for hours. But we don't deserve any of the fucking criminal slush fund money that you want. I was charged with 4 misdemeanors and the 1512 unconstitutional felony. The government offered to drop the misdemeanors if I pled to the felony. The felony was a lie, so I refused and went to trial. Good, and then you got convicted, didn't you? After at the trial, prosecution for 2 days straight was allowed to show footage to the jury of things that occurred around the Capitol. I wasn't present for, quote, the context. When we asked to put forward the footage that contradicted the prosecutor's context, we were not allowed. I don't believe you. I think you're lying. You had a free and fair trial. I'm sure you were able to put whatever you wanted forth. They could show what they wanted. We could not. Bullshit. Police officers were then put on the stand for the next 2 days who cried about their experience. I had no idea who they were. They admitted they never saw or interacted with me. Then they were being honest, and there's nothing wrong with that. But a jury still found you guilty, didn't they? I don't want to waste the rest of your time. Nevertheless, I just want to let's see what he wants out of this. Nevertheless, like every other J6er, I lost and was sentenced to 4 years and $22K in fines and restitutions. Yet even after the Supreme Court overturned the felony, the judge would not let me out until my misdemeanor sentences of a year were maxed out. Don't commit fucking crimes. You won't be stuck in jail. Because she can't count, blah, blah, blah. Because she can't count, she actually kept me in longer. I highly think that although I'm sure you're an intellectual powerhouse, my friend, because you are a January 6er and a dating coach, I think the judge is probably a lot fucking smarter than you. I just want to see how much he's asking for. I had incurred over 300. By the time I was pardoned by President Trump, I had spent literally every single day of Biden's presidency either in prison or under some form of supervision. I had incurred over 300K in legal fees and over 1 million in lost business. I know how many fucking dating people were how many people did you lose coaching on dating over those years? It's such bullshit. It's so pathetic. It was a reign of terror. No, you, my friend, are a terrorist, and you deserve whatever you got, and you're lucky that you got out of it. And fortunately, thankfully, you're not going to get your 300K because even fucking sociopath Republicans in the House and the Senate, with the exception of Ralph Norman, right, and a few others, are not going to give you, they're not going to approve the slush fund. You're not going to get your $300,000. But hey, I'm sure you're an excellent dating and relationship coach with over 350 clients. So you should be killing it financially. Thank God you're not allowed to kill it anymore physically, but you should be killing it financially. So I think you'll be good without the 300K that you want to steal from taxpayers, because I'm not going to pay for your shit. It's your job to pay for your crimes, not my job to pay for your crimes. So fuck off. Back to our glorious stroll down the batshit yellow brick road that is Twitter these days, aka X. I just want to check the time. I'm trying to keep these short. Nick Sorter, who is a right-wing, basically like a right-wing journalist or fake journalist or whatever. He posted, breaking: John Thune will be sending the Senate home early, and they'll stay home until June. This guy is a disgrace. This means no ICE, CBP funding, and no Save America Act until at least next month. Thune needs to be removed. I mean, I guess you could argue, considering the two things we just saw, the two posts we just saw, that this is kind of normal, relatively speaking. Just hoping against hope that the idiots. Interestingly, Sorter does not mention the slush fund. He kind of conveniently left that out. But let's continue on. I guess that's as normal as you're going to see. So Caitlin Collins, who is not a right-wing extremist, she's a CNN anchor, amid major backlash from the GOP. Trump defends the new $1.8 billion DOJ fund. Let me prepare for this. I gave up a lot of money in allowing the just announced anti-weaponization fund to go forward. I could have settled the case. I could have, including the illegal release of my tax returns and the equally illegal break-in of Mar-a-Lago for an absolute fortune. I could have made I would have made $10 billion, and that was taken out of $27 billion. I made $117 billion. They gave me fantastic. Instead, I am helping others who were so badly abused by an evil, corrupt, and weaponized Biden justice system. Receive at long last justice, President TJT. Now, I will tell you, other than that post, now maybe more stuff has happened this afternoon, but the idiot's been pretty quiet, today, considering what happened in the House and the Senate yesterday. Just remember, the Senate, John Thune, as we heard here with Nick Sorter, was really mad about. It was clear that there were not going to be enough votes in the Senate to pass the reconciliation bill, specifically because chicken shit GOP senators who finally found some courage. That's, Mitch McConnell retiring, Thom Tillis retiring, Senator Cassidy retired last week, right? Because he lost his primary to some Trump nut in Louisiana, right? Because Trump went after him. Just checking the time. I got to just make sure I wrap it in just a couple minutes. Murkowski not retiring, but maybe this is enough to was enough to actually get her to stand up. We'll see what happens when they come back and they have to vote on this shit. Susan Collins is always very concerned, and she actually kind of may have not agreed yet to vote for this package, but she will. But apparently enough of them stood up with the midterms coming up and said, are you out of your fucking mind? I mean, that's kind of what we've been saying since, January of 2017. But, you guys are a little late to that. But okay. So the idiot, and in the House, there was Democrats with a few Republicans were able to force a pressure, I would say, not force, pressure a vote on a bill to rein the village idiots in for the war in Iran, to basically put a stop to it. And Mike Johnson did not have the votes to stop it. So he just pulled the vote, just said no. If you want to get a really good explanation of what happened, go onto X or onto Blue Sky or on Facebook. Look up Congressman Jason Crow. He when he came out of the House chamber, he was really pissed, and he explained. He does this really, really an excellent, in the moment explanation of what transpired. So, considering all that happened, it's surprising that the idiot is only coming out with this kind of almost milquetoast response to it. But let's continue our journey through the what's the word that I'm looking for? The cesspool. Let's continue to swim through the cesspool that is Twitter these days. All right, guys. I'm sorry to play this for. I'm sorry. I want to apologize in advance. I'm sure you're all like, what the fuck are you going to do to us? Mitch, have you out of your... I'm sure you're looking at this picture, this image, and you're like, are you out of your fucking mind? These two. You're literally going to play us a clip of these two. You started out with Ralph fucking Norman telling us that January 6th was made up. Then you went to Pat, the January 6er dating coach who wants $300,000 of our taxpayer-funded money, right? Then you went to Nick Sorter, the pretend fucking journalist who's mad at John Thune and wants him thrown out, slightly less crazy. Then you went to Caitlin Collins posting the Village Idiots post that was less crazy than we expected it to be, because he's something's going on with him because of the way he's reacting to this. But now you're gonna take it. You're gonna fucking play Marjorie Taylor Greene and Alex Jones. My friends, the world is upside down, and I'm gonna share it with you.
I think it's right there. Absolutely. He's like, 'cause I remember the clip. He goes, wait. I just got a big idea. I can get into war. Well, he just said yesterday, he said, I may be here in 2028. I may just stay. I may be the Israeli prime minister. What about that?
Well, that's so that type of behavior is someone planning an idea over and over and over again. He constantly says it so that he can normalize the idea and test the support and test people's reactions. But saying it over and over and over again normalizes the idea. And I think it's incredibly dangerous, and no one should ever accept it. Absolutely not. There cannot be a third term. No, that's against our laws. That's against the Constitution. There is no third term.
Yeah, well,
and if this country is at war, no, our elections should not be canceled. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, they should carry on and they should go forward, and people need to fight as hard as possible for election
I agree. Are
integrity.
you worried about an October surprise, Cuba or something else before the election?
I'm worried about it.
It's hard to hear, right? It's like, what do you do? It's hard to hear Marjorie Taylor Greene and Alex Jones sound like normal people. It's impossible to hear Alex Jones sound like a normal person. He is. Don't fool yourself. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I was wrong about, only in the sense that I thought Lauren Boebert, and Tommy Tuberville were the dumbest people ever in the history of Congress, right? I thought that. Marjorie is not as dumb as I thought. She's not dumb at all. I was wrong about that. Lauren, I'm on the fence. Tuberville, I'm 100% certain he's still the dumbest motherfucker to ever be in Congress. So he's the king of dumb now. I mean, Trump is the king of dumb, but just I'm talking about in as a legislator. Alex Jones is a sick fucking vile creep, as we all know. Sandy Hook and the conspiracy theories around that, and he is unrehabilitatable. Even when in a moment where he sounds sane, where he's speaking sane. What this tells me about Alex Jones is that he is completely responsible for his actions. Right. Because if Alex Jones can find the ability in a conversation to communicate effectively on a topic without being crazy, then some of his crazy is performative, right? Some of it's probably genuinely real. There's no doubt he's a madman. But there's no excuse that this motherfucker in the court of public opinion can plead insanity because he's just an angry, sick fuck, and he will, for all the horrible things that Marjorie Taylor Greene did, some of the worst of which were the Jewish space lasers, were, harassing, I can't think of his name, the young man, he was a kid at the time, the Parkland survivor, and harassing him. I mean, those were horrific things. The awful things she said about Obama and Biden. I mean, there's just a plethora of horrible things for her. But it seemed that she was at least capable of, trying to move towards some sense of decency. And she's, believe me, I've heard her plenty of times go back to horrific since she's had her, awakening from Donald Trump. But irrespective of my analysis of these two personalities, it's weird to go on to the cesspool that is X and hear these two sound like that. And what a moment we're in. And I think, and what's going to be entertaining is reading the responses from the people on X, who used to love these two, right? We'll read that in a minute. I was just going to say something else. I lost my train of thought. All right, so let's read that and I'll see if it comes back to me. So reading some
I think it's right there. Absolutely. He's like,
reading some of their responses. I'm not going to listen to the clip. If they actually think this, they're nuts. We need to stop wasting time on these loons. Waste of air. Now, they sound like us, right? They sound like us when Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about Jewish space lasers. That guy sounds like us when Alex Jones was talking about the Sandy Hook massacre as a hoax and a million other things, right? But when they actually speak about something that isn't crazy, those who have bought into crazy hook, line, and sinker, whether or not they can own up to the crazy and move beyond it or not, can't. They can't let it go. The next guy responding to him, so many nuts, stuff happening, so you can't rule out. Bob, let's see what Bob said and which side of history Bob is on. If Trump truly tried this, he would have a very violent upheaval on his hands, and he would likely wouldn't come out on the other side. With all that said, he's already old as fuck with dementia and certainly won't be afforded the opportunity. I mean, I don't know if he wouldn't wind up with a violent upheaval, but that's not, that's a semi-normal response. MAGA is stronger than ever. If Trump truly wanted to stay in power, he would have done it in 2020. Alex is a stupid, imbecile alcoholic. Okay, what do you do with that? John Forsythe, though Trump is not seriously threatening to cancel the 2028 elections to stay in power. Fact checked, whatever that emoji is, American flag, shut the fuck up. Exploring the U.S., very well said, Marjorie. You have the triple grift of discernment, common speak, and brevity. Stay strong. We need you. So I think what we're seeing in this, at least, I don't know. I mean, this is not a formal poll, but it does seem like, because nobody's responding to this except we're reading it for entertainment, but nobody's responding to this except the MAGA folks. So, it is indicative, I think, of the split. And I remembered what I wanted to say. I just want to check the time again. I remember what I wanted to say a minute ago, guys. Remember I told you that when Trump hits the 20% polling threshold across the board with everybody, with the exception of just the Republicans or the MAGA community, that we don't have to worry anymore. The authoritarian coup is over too, because he'll lose his political power, and chicken shit GOP senators and House members will push back against him. Well, right now we're at 33% on average, right? 33 to 37, right? Occasionally there's a 40%er, but on average, and it's across the board. It's on all of his policies, right? And his general approval. So we're getting to that 20% threshold. That was just a number that I would have felt comfortable with for me. Obviously I'm not a pollster and I just make this shit up, but like Donald Trump, I pull it out of my butt on any given day and share it with you guys because you're willing to listen to me, right? But that being said, I really feel like we're kind of entering that moment now. We're not at 20% across the board with all demographics. We're there with Latinos for long enough. It's been months and months and months. We are there with independents. It's been for months and months and months. We're in the low 30s, the low to mid 30s with the general approval rating. That's been consistent for a few months. So the polling is almost where I needed it to be, so I could, not that I would stop worrying about them trying and doing all sorts of fucking damage, right? Because I haven't stopped worrying about that. But I would stop worrying about them being able to get away with it, right? And I feel like with the midterms coming up, with the fucking ballroom was the first thing, and then that kind of shook Republicans, I think, and then they wouldn't admit it, but it was, and then you had the fucking slush fund, right, and the fucking reflecting pool. Well, you had the reflecting pool, and then the slush fund, and then the war, right, that was ongoing, and then the fucking slush fund. And I think we are at, I hope I'm not wrong. I think we are at the precipice right now of that perspective that I had where the authoritarian coup is not going to be anything to worry about anymore because he's not going to have any. You're going to get pushback. It doesn't, and this is not going to save Republicans in the midterms either, just because he's just going to get crazier. So Queen's Kid, I just want to read one more of these, and I want to show you one more thing. Jones is done, been completely gone since before Trump won this last time, but he's nowhere near the guy he was 10 years ago. I don't know this person. Well, he's, acting slightly less crazy. Maybe he's medicated now. And this is exactly why I have been connecting the dots. He will somehow, some way manufacture a huge catastrophic crisis and try not only to cancel the midterms, but to impose martial law. I am afraid to say that the consequences will just be more devastating, but it could cause blah, blah, blah. So there is clearly, I think what we see here in this, just this single thread is indicative of the split in the Republican Party at this point and in the MAGA faithful party. One more thing I want to show you before, but let me just see if I can. I had trouble getting this thing out of here earlier, but I just want to pull this over because I want to check out some comments. Okay, Gamer. Net is minus 30. If he reaches minus 34 or higher, it's the same as the 20s. Thank you, Gamer. Great point. Lacey, I think she was in a cult, has broken free, and is looking at it from outside now. I'm glad she's using her voice to disavow it for all her faults. Look, Lacey, I am happy too. I am glad to see that. I don't think she's fully been able to let go of the horrificness. She's let go of much of it, but she's still stuck on, hating immigrants because they're immigrants. It's because they're brown. She's still stuck on, guns for kids and everybody else. She still has some horrific policy positions that she comes out with that are anti-democratic and just fucking crazy. But I think over time, if she is exposed enough to sanity, and the fact that the left, we forgive everybody eventually, right? And that eventually, if she continues, she won't be vilified as much on the left and in the center, and there will be some embrace of her, and then she will start to see people of color being available to her, and understand. She will meet people and meet their families, and start to understand that. I think this is Alex Jones. I don't think this is possible, but for her, maybe. Oh, David Hogg, that was his name. Thank you, Gail. And good morning, Gail, too. I didn't see that a little while ago. So, oh my God, I forgot her harassing the Parkland survivor. That was awful. Gail, they're trying to position themselves. Yeah, girl, I get it. I think they absolutely. Are you talking about these two, right? Or you may have been talking about something else, or you might be talking about Republicans as a whole, and they are. There is no decency among these. If Republicans had any sense of decency in the House and the Senate, they would have never allowed this in the first place. They're all a bunch of fucking opportunistic cowards, every one of them. The ones that are retiring now and are suddenly showing some mild sense of courage, and the ones that are suddenly pushing back on him because they see they're going to get clobbered in the midterm. So there is no. You were talking about MTG. Look, absolutely. And I although I see Lacey's point, and I agree with her to a point, I also share. I think I can have these conflicting feelings at the same time. I also share a sense of pessimism about Marjorie Taylor Greene overall. Last thing I want to show you guys is this is really funny, and it wasn't supposed to be. So I feel like what happened, like sometime 3 or 4 days ago, somehow I feel like a videographer, an editor, maybe a producer who does a lot from Sesame Street, got drunk with Pete Hegseth. I don't know. Maybe the Sesame Street producer lives in Washington, D.C., just happened to live there. And maybe after Sesame Street is basically I think what does Netflix have Sesame Street now or some shit, but now that it's a for-profit thing, its days are numbered. Maybe he was laid off or she was laid off, right? He or she was just fed up, because, they were Sesame Street people. And now it's been defunded. PBS was defunded and Sesame Street is on Netflix or wherever, and it's just gone, right? Doesn't mean anything. So can't get another job because, look, I mean, if you're an editor for Sesame Street, where are you ever going to work, right? What are you ever going to do? You know what I mean? Like, who's going to hire you? They're going to hire you for the next, Avatar film? I don't think so. But you could do some stuff, right? So I think maybe this person was at a local bar, nice bar, but, off the beaten path in D.C., got drunk. Was getting drunk, scotch or something at the bar. And it's a place where maybe Hegseth goes because maybe it's a place he can hide. Nobody sees him, get like liquored up every night after work. It's like his secret kind of place. And he kind of maybe puts his sunglasses on and, nobody really knows who he is. And they just happened to be sitting next to each other. And as they got drunker, they just started talking. And they kind of became friendly, sort of. And maybe Hegseth isn't that bad. And maybe maybe some Sesame Street person isn't that bad. And then in his drunken stupor, Hegseth said something like, "Do you want to be a patriot? Because I can make you one. And I'll give you a job, too." I can't do a good drunk Pete Hegseth. And then he hired her for $250,000, right, of your taxpayer-funded dollars to make this video. And I feel like there's Sesame Street written all over it. Just Sesame Street gone rogue.
To keep America safe in an increasingly dangerous world, we cannot rely on the weapons of the past. We have to build the weapons of the future. For 4 long years under Joe Biden, this department chronically underinvested in our military technology, while our adversaries aggressively modernized theirs. Under President Trump, that era of complacency is over. With his $1.5 trillion military budget, we are awakening the sleeping giant and building America's arsenal of freedom. First and foremost, we are defending the homeland. We're funding the Golden Dome, a next-generation multi-layered missile shield over the United States. It will protect our communities from airborne threats and ensure that America will never be held hostage by foreign powers. Second, maritime dominance. We're talking about control of the seas. The new budget allows us to supercharge our neglected shipyards, transforming them into unstoppable engines of American industrial might. These modernized shipyards will rapidly churn out brand new ships that will form the Golden Fleet, ensuring our naval superiority in any sea, now and into the future. Third, we're making a record-breaking investment in drones, lethal ones, to dominate the battlefield of today and tomorrow. This allows us to unleash massive swarms of autonomous drones that will fly and fight right alongside our manned 6th-generation fighter, the F-47, while our next-generation bomber, the B-21, soars overhead, capable of penetrating the toughest defenses and delivering precision strikes
Good Lord.
anywhere in the world. Fourth, the future of warfare, it's here, and it's spelled AI. We're funding advanced cyber operations and artificial intelligence to crush our enemies' networks before they can even strike. And by making the largest ever investment in the Space Force, we will lead the world in capabilities beyond our atmosphere. By the way, this Pentagon, President Trump's Pentagon, is making a historic commitment to passing a full financial audit. The arsenal of freedom will be done fiscally responsibly. Drones, AI, cyber, space, the Golden Dome, and the Golden Fleet. This is the most advanced, lethal arsenal the world has ever known. The arsenal of today, the arsenal of tomorrow, the arsenal of freedom.
So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. That was unintentionally funny. I just thought it was comical. I thought the cartoons were funny. They're just such putzes. It's such a confederacy of schmucks. You can't do anything with it. You know, you just can't do anything with it. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. We took a little trip through the cesspool that is Twitter, aka X, and we are a little dumber because of it. We learned about Ralph Norman and him thinking that the entire January 6th was made up. It was fake. It was staged. We learned about Pat, the guy who helps the January 6th prisoner who likes to help men learn how to date and wants $300,000 of your taxpayer money for his troubles. We learned about Nick Sorter, who is a supposed journalist who wants to get rid of John Thune. That was the most normal thing of the day. I'm just checking. Caitlin Collins showed us how the village idiot is mutely responding to getting told to go fuck himself by Republicans in the House and the Senate. We'll see how long that lasts. We learned that we saw a very weird and slightly disturbing, but seemingly shockingly normal, if not pretend normal, video from Alex Jones and Marge Taylor Greene, and we were able to see in real time the split when we looked at the comments between Republicans and Republicans right now. And lastly, we got to see the Sesame Street presentation of the Future of War fair from America from drunken Pete Hegseth, who was a real person superimposed onto a cartoon. For real. That actually happened. I love you guys. 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 live at a time. Thank you for joining me for this, somewhat unusual particular type of live. But I got to stop saying live because we're not just live. Episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you're here on Substack, please consider a paid subscription or upgrading to paid if that's something that is comfortable for you. If you are here on YouTube or both platforms, just either way, please subscribe. It's a modest goal, really, considering how big some influencers are, but I'm just trying to get to 1,000 as quickly as possible. 1,000 subscribers in each platform. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Take care, Aggie. Take care, everybody. I'll see you in a bit. Be well, everyone.